Okay, welcome everyone to MySelf Reliance, our Tuesday night Zoom. Tonight we're having an open discussion and really to get to know each other in this Zoom chat, because what it's all about is meeting other like-minded people to be able to connect and to grow our resilience in all the areas that we find that's really interesting to you. So far we've had a chat. What you've missed if you haven't joined us yet, or you're just watching the replay, is we've had a chat about, we've got Carol from WA who makes her own apple cider vinegar, which is super cool. We want to learn how to do that. She's put a link into the group, so we're going to add that to the main conversation in MySelf Reliance, how to make your own apple cider vinegar, and drying, using a dehydrator to for all such things as herbs and apples, apricots, banana chips, mangoes, chilies, fruit roll-ups, all the yummy things that you can do if you have your own dehydrator. And then we talked about, Andrew, you're going to share with us about the Mylabs system, which is a common interest of people to start storing for long-term food storage in Mylabs. So where did you purchase your Mylabs?
We purchased it through what's it called? South. It's based in WA, I think it is. Just have to look that up. What it was, I don't know off the top of my head. It's
right.
I think it was Survival Supplies Australia. I think it was.
We love Survival Supplies Australia. In actual fact, they do so many good things. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a whole lot of stuff from them.
Cool.
And, we've just started using the vacuum chamber. We're about to try that out, and apparently they're supposed to be able to do the Mylabs, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, I'll put a link in the group to the Survival Supplies Australia for anyone who wants that link. And I do have an affiliate program with them because I do love them for all kinds of things. For all your camping needs and emergency supplies. And one of the things that I love to talk about is everyone should have their own 72-hour kit. So it's a 3-day bag that is a bug out bag that has you put all your necessities in there that help you to survive for 3 days. And so when we have emergencies, you just grab the bag. You don't have to think about it because you've already pre-packed it. And then you've got food in there, clothing, your camping gear, survival things, and Survival Australia does some really good supplies towards that. So I'll do a link to what would you put in a 72-hour kit, along with the link to where you get all those good things from, in the group after this. So, and then of course, food storage. So talking about long-term food storage, so having the Mylabs would be used for keeping things longer than a year. So, beyond the regular use by date on the shelf. And, the use by date, I learned this recently, that companies can only put a maximum 2-year limit of a use by date on. Doesn't matter if it's pasta that would last a lot longer, they're only allowed to put maximum 2 years on it. So it is a suggested use by date. But having something in a Mylabs would be more useful if you want to keep your pests out and rodents and those kinds of things that you're not just worried about air getting to it, but you're worried more about pest control. So you want to be able to open it up and have it be fresh. So the other option that we talked about if you're using Mylabs is that you would need to have those oxygen absorbers.
Oxygen absorbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what people tend to use, is chuck in an oxygen absorber into the Milo bag and then seal them off. And sealing them off with a hot hair flattening iron is usually like a really easy way to seal off a Milo bag. However, we did talk also about having a nitrogen absorption option, which does a really good job of it as well. But usually you do it in a group setting, because you would buy the big nitrogen tanks, and then be able to do a whole lot of those at the same time, which would make it really cost effective if you're doing it for a community. So lots of some community projects there. So Cherie's saying batch of elderberry immunity syrup. So Cherie, come off mute and tell us about your elderberry immunity syrup.
I have elderflower trees growing, and rather than making something from the flowers, let them go to berries, and then they're not edible raw. You have to cook them, otherwise there's toxins. But it's a really, really good immune boosting. So just cook it up with ginger, cinnamon, cloves, water, cook it down, and then strain. And it's kids and so from 12 months up they can take it. You only need a teaspoon preventative. Really good cold, flu and general immune boosting. So if anyone wants it or can get dried, you can use fresh elderberry or dried elderberries. And I can post the recipe if anyone's interested in that.
We would love a recipe, but what we really love even more than that is for you to video you doing it. Just hold the video over the top of your hands. It doesn't have to be of you. It just be of.
Oh, okay, that I can do.
Of the pot. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and then if the video is really long, just send it to me and I'll edit it down so that it's like a 1-minute video that shows you all the steps.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. We love that. Thank you. Because then when you see it, because you have the recipe, but when you see it, then you go, oh, that's doable because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's actually very easy. Yeah.
Awesome. And then pickled red onions. So tell us about those.
That's just so that they don't go to waste. It's a very, very simple pickling, equal parts vinegar, water. I use a stevia sugar because we don't have sugar. And just heat that up and pour it over your sliced red onions or normal onions or whatever, and you get the pickled pickles and preserves them. That way they last months.
See, I love all the preserving because that's what you would do instead of freezing, right? Because
because if you're running out, well, we're already running out of freezer room, and if we do have problems with power down the track, well then the less in the freezer the better.
Beautiful. And I love that you've done it yourself, not just bought the pre-pickled stuff off the shelf and put it in your pantry, which is the other option. So good. I love all the skills on here. What else? Carol saying making pemmican. Oh, now pemmican is the process of. You'll have to tell us, Carol. It's meat, isn't it? It's the way that you do it. The way that you. Carol, are you able to come off mute and tell us?
I haven't made it, but I've sent a link.
Oh, you sent the link. Perfect. Okay, we'll put that link in the group. I love all these good links. So good. And then Andrew, you mentioned about sauerkraut. Well, atta is my go-to for sauerkraut. I'm making all things that are good probiotics for the body naturally. So, Atta, tell us about that. Or Andrew, whoever makes it, whatever.
I have actually posted some photos of how I make the sauerkraut. It was a while ago, but you can see actually step by step how to make it, how to prepare it. And I am still a fan of it, and I think this is a good way for your immune system as well, to boost your immune system. It's great for guts because of the bacteria. And I actually think, because I had an issue with my anemia, and I think that's really helped me to keep the iron level all the time at the same level since a year. And I was struggling with my anemia for the past 3 years. So yeah, all the fermented veggies are great for your immune system and your guts as well.
Okay, so tell me, when you're eating sauerkraut, what are you eating it with?
I always put a little bit of oil because vitamin C is absorbed with oil. So with A, D, and K with oil. C just helps, I think. Yeah. And I put a little bit of parsley in it as well, and carrot. Mix it all together, and this is like a salad.
Oh, but it's a side dish, right? What are you
like
having?
a side dish, yes.
What else are you having it with?
Well, usually it will be piece of meat, for instance, or baked potato or something like this. But it's a salad. It's a salad. Sometimes I add apple as well.
Right. So you're having it cold.
Times, yeah. Yeah. For cold, for flu, anything like this, it just helps to get rid of your viruses or bacteria. Great stuff, really.
And now I do think for a lot of us, it's one of those things that if your gut is out, meaning that you're quite sugar addicted, then maybe it takes some time to get used to the flavors of the sauerkraut, would you say?
Well, it's sour.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you can buy prebiotics from pharmacy or something, but that's just not the same, because I have been taking them and they just didn't help me at all.
Yeah.
But since I started to eat sauerkraut like regularly, let's say for the past year, then I could see the difference, and I can guarantee that whoever's have problems with guts, and healthy guts means that you are healthy. That's how it is, because the whole process is in your guts. If the guts are not working the proper way, which means you don't have bacteria, or the bacteria that you should have was killed by antibiotics that you have been taking for years, then that's the way to go. Definitely. All natural,
100%.
not artificial.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we talked about on last week's chat, was about having a healthy gut and the importance of it. So thank you for bringing that up again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the same with allergies. The recent study that I have read, they said that the allergies that so many people would have, it's because we can't process food in our guts. And that's once again because of the all preserves that we are absorbing with food that we buy from the stores. They would actually kill the good bacteria that we are having in our guts. And this is the way to restore them. And help them to grow and help them. Those bacteria are helping us to absorb the good stuff from the food that we are digesting. If you don't have them, then it's hard for us to absorb the nutrients from the food. So that's the key point of all the allergies and all the problems with guts and everything else.
Yeah, and skin issues too, like
And skin. Oh,
eczema and
absolutely, because that's
dermatitis.
the rashes that you are having. It's because of the allergies and and they just come through your skin. You can have runny nose and you can have rash on your skin as well.
And I found out if any kind of the flu starts with me, for example, I like to add to this salad some onion. But what I like
onions.
to do
Yeah.
before cutting onion and spreading a bit of salt and pepper and just squeeze it, because onion then put some liquid outside, and the taste of the salad, it will be much better, and a bit of the lemon juice also. Like my way, it is like sauerkraut, this squeezed onion, apple, a bit of lemon juice, and some kind of the oil, recently hemp one. When I was struggling with sugar, I just add a bit of the honey when I was struggling. Now I do not have to.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. That's awesome tips how to use it. Did you want to add anything, Andrew? Because you sound like you're keen on the sauerkraut.
I was just going to say that if you're not used to it, you can do just a short ferment, so the taste's not as strong. And as you get used to it, you can do a longer ferment, and then your tummy's got to get used to the bacteria a little bit too, because if you start off with it, just little bits and then get bigger, otherwise you can get like a lot of bloating from it.
Yes. So can somebody put in a link to a recipe? Well, you did one before, Ada, so maybe it's already in the files in the main group. You've got.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere, but that
files.
was at the very beginning when we started our group. But I can still repost it, I guess.
Yeah, repost after this, because it'll keep it all fresh for us.
Yeah. Why not?
Very cool. And so you might see Cherise doing some great stuff with her community in Queensland, in Brizzy, and she's got together with a group of other families and created a community garden, and that's something that you've started since being in this MySelf Reliance group, isn't it, Cherise?
Yes, it is. Yeah. We actually met the three, two of the other girls, Kerry and Susan, on the Queensland Self-Reliance group. Figured out that we're all within sort of 15 minutes of each other. And a lovely neighbour let us use his tunnels to begin to set up the gardens, and we've just kind of gone from there. It's been slow progress with having to do the rounds of freebie things on marketplaces and getting free mulch, and then running over it with the mower from horse places, old hay mixed with cow poo and stuff like that. So lots of work when you're trying to get everything for free, when you're doing it all on a no bones budget. But yeah, it's really paying off now, and we're starting to harvest from our garden. So very exciting.
And that is the best.
Yeah.
The best. And
it's just such a lovely, it's so these new friends, it has just been the most. We've got a lovely little group of we're all really supportive of each other, and they will be our if we have to go, then we've now got options with new friends.
Yeah, that was part of your emergency plan.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's right, and because that's what we talked about in the early days, was having a group of people that you can turn to, because your usual go-to people might not want to know you. They might have changed in the last year or two. I know that's true for me. I've kind of, you know, met a whole lot of new people, and some people have dropped off that list, my go-tos. So, and then also having, like Cherie said, that close community, but this Zoom chat allows us to have a community that might be beyond our local, you know, drop-off point, so that I know that if I had to go a bit further, if I had to go to the Blue Mountains for safety, oh, I know Andrew in the Blue Mountains, and that's important that you know people that are a good hour from you, because, you know, what happens if you have fires in your immediate, you know, then those 4 people who are living 15 minutes from you are probably in the same boat as you are. So having that next lot of go-to people as well. So very cool. Tegan or Danielle, do you want to, or Peace, do you want to share with us anything that you've been interested in or at work on, or have any questions about?
I guess I can share. So I'm very new into this space. I grew up on a small little farm, and then went to live in the city for a very long, I guess the majority of my adult life, but have always had a hankering to return back to this space. And certainly with the way of the world, it's becoming ever increasingly important. And for me, what I've been doing is actually reading up on edible weeds. So the plants that just grow, that you pull out of your garden, those beautiful veggie gardens, Cherie, often that we're fighting with. I've been so surprised how nutritious they are and how plentiful they are. So I've actually been, today, I just went around the local streets and started collecting seeds from all those like cobbler's pegs, all those really sticky seeds that you hate, but are incredibly nutritious. So that's what I've been educating myself on at the moment.
That's wonderful. I love that. I was doing a drive around our local area, if anyone knows Kellyville and Beaumont Hills, and there's, along the main road, there's actually plum trees, and those big trees with the big trunks that actually store water. So it's really interesting to know how, like you said, Tegan, how much is edible food in your local area, and hopefully if the time comes, no one else is looking there, because they're all like going to the shop and not buying anything, and you're going foraging.
Oh, these seeds will be going with me out bush, and I'll plant a little patch.
So good. It's so good. And that what's really clever is that you know what to look for, because everyone else looks at it and goes, weed, and you go, food. So great. Maybe maybe you can share with us what you're finding, and I you know, take a photo of it and then just put a comment on it, you know, this is not a weed, eat this, for, you know, and maybe what you do with it, because it's, you know, we have dandelions growing in the yard, right? But a lot of the videos that I've seen is pull out the dandelion, and I've seen someone chew the root, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that's exactly how I would want to be taking it, but how it gets from a dandelion root to the stuff that I'm drinking, and I want to know that process. So,
well, you can use the leaves, and dandelion is actually one of the really, really good herbs for stopping the spike protein attaching. So, and it's also, well, I drink dandelion and nettle tea every day. Nettle's really good for if you've got iron, low iron as well. Are
you buying it though, Cherie, or as already done, or are you making it yourself from the plant?
No, I grow it in the veggie garden. I purposely plant dandelion and nettle. Yes, because if you're getting it, if you're going to forage off the side of the road or something, it needs to be somewhere where people aren't spraying, or the council aren't, because you don't want to be putting those type of poisons back in your system when that's what we're trying to get away from. Yeah, and then you just you can use the leaves once again, dry them if you don't have a dehydrator, sun dry, air dry, hang them upside down dry.
I'm putting that on my list for my dehydrator.
And then crush them up for your tea.
I also use the fresh dandelions, just the leaves just ripped up into salad too.
Yes,
I've also just learned that there are 2 different types of dandelion, and the one that's the most beneficial one is the one that grows a single flower, on a single stem. So when you look at the dandelions growing that have multiple flowers on multiple stems, they're not actually the best dandelions to be using. So there's a little bit of education. Apparently dandelions are the most nutritious compact food for bees as well, because I think they supply the nectar and the pollen. So from a little bee's point of view, people shouldn't be killing them off. Like where a dandelion grows, nothing else will grow. So it's got a purpose, in the soil as well.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt there, but yes,
No, we love that. Jump in.
Yeah.
Thanks, Danielle.
That's right. But I'm also kind of new to this online format. But for the last couple of years, I've really had my eyes being opened more and more to, wanting to get off grid more and more. And my husband's pretty good, but it's, most of it's kind of left to me. Lucky we do have a little patch of garden that we have a very productive, veggie garden growing. But I'm constantly collecting organic seeds, and when things are seeding in the garden, just drying them out, putting them away, because we know the seed supply will end up eventually running dry and only be genetically modified stuff as well, like it is in the States. But there are lots of community. I'm in down on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, and it's lovely down here. There are a few, I call them secret squirrel groups. But I guess what I'm finding is I've always been the the square peg in a round hole. And even within some of these communities, I'm finding it's still hard to find my people, if that makes sense. Just because we might have similar thoughts on how the world is heading doesn't always mean energetically we might connect. And I don't want that to sound wanky, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I've kind of gotten very, very reclusive from someone who used to be a real social butterfly. I just really want to be with my people. And even if that means sometimes it's just my immediate family, that's kind of where I'm at. So it's all part of the journey, I think.
Well, I do believe that too, Danielle. And, I've, in part of this journey over the last 6 months, we've we're looking at an off-grid community ourselves. And it's not, you're right, it's not always easy. Even we're like-minded, but we don't always think the same way. And, in this group, what you'll find is we're not all about the doom and gloom. We are more about proactive about what you can do, and really you still have what your thoughts are, and your vibes, right? So you can bring destruction towards you with your thoughts, or you can use what we have and create something new. And so that's really what this group is about, is really thinking proactively, but also more than just proactively. It's more about the opportunity that we have to get back to what's really important now, and nurture that inner guiding light that that was distracted. We were so distracted before.
I know, absolutely. And I think as well, like I've struggled with this last year, like you're saying, in a lot of these groups, there is an element of that constant doom and gloom. And it's like, that's just not keeping our vibration and our frequency high. And yeah, I think that's where a lot of, I mean, I don't know what it's been like anywhere else, but particularly down here, there's been so many people have been getting sick. Doesn't matter what your status is, but getting really, really sick. And I often have thought the ones who've been really succumbing, perhaps it's, you know, it's an energetic thing as well. So you keep manifesting the doom and gloom, and that's what's, you know, that's it, you make it your reality. So yeah, it's a tricky one to navigate, and yeah, just try to, without becoming a total hermit, just trying to stay up.
Yes.
And particularly when you have little people to look after as well, staying up for them, you know.
Well, and I think that's the important thing is that you attract your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And I used to think that was a bit airy-fairy to say, well, you know, what you put out there is what you get back. But it's actually, it really is your vibe. You are attracting the people to you who you are, the energetically what you're putting out there. And so maybe that's how you found us. Maybe that's why you're here tonight. And one of the things I wanted to say about, welcoming. Yes, it's so good to have you. And you touched on about sickness, right? And so I've been a person who's been all about wellness and health and what you can do for your health, and not necessarily in a really organic way, because, you know, the sauerkraut and eating the dandelions, you guys are well ahead of me on that. but because I'm a busy mom and I was looking for answers and was more looking for something commercial to help me, I found a company that was all botanically based and ticked all the boxes and looked after the planet. And so I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing. I know I can eat healthy and do all of that. And now I've kind of come full circle and come back to, okay, we can find everything that we need in nature. It's all there. But still, how do you fit into your busy lifestyle, right? So that's kind of been my journey the last 15 years. And yet when this last round of virus hit, I had my beautiful niece come and stay with me. And of course, I caught the latest round going from her, and so did the family. And I think what the way that I approached illness was, look, this is a really good time for me just to slow down and just to relax, embrace the illness while I've got it, sleep, you know, just chillax. And because that's not my style, is just chillaxing. That's I kind of just go. But the more that you just embrace the present and the now, and use it to your advantage, and allow yourself to be in the shoes of, wow, this is what it's like to be sick. It's been years and years and years since I've actually felt my body go through what it's like to be sick. And now I have compassion for people who are going through much worse. And I, you know, went through it really quickly. But it's an opportunity. So everything that we go through is an opportunity, and there's no downsides to it, not even death. And if you don't fear the things that are presenting and coming your way, then they do turn into opportunities for us. And so it's really about using those in the best possible way. So thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely. And just to add to that too, I was listening to a really great podcast, whatever, a couple of days ago that Pete Evans had done. I can't remember the guy's name, but basically it was a reminder, you know, when your kids get really, really sick, and often you'll see that once they get well, they have some kind of developmental leap. Well, it's similarly with this illness, because I'm currently down with it, although I'm not very unwell. My husband had it, you know, a bit rougher than I did, and my son did too. But this guy was saying, you know, coming through this illness, because it's hitting a lot of people, you know, unexpectedly, is that when we get through it, it's sort of like a form of ascension as well. And I really like the idea of that. you know, you see it as a positive, not as a, oh my God, I'm, you know, on my deathbed. It's nothing like that at all. It's just an opportunity, you know, to ascend to the next level.
I will admit that there was a couple of days that was just I kind of 2 days and I was like down, and then third day I was fine, but then the fourth day or the fifth day I was kind of off, like ratty and a bit the word's anxiety. I'm like, I'm having anxiety. I'm like, oh, I never say that. So what I think happened for me was that my gut actually was off, and it took a few days for my gut to get back and do the probiotics and do all those good gut healing stuff. Because as Atta said, your gut affects your brain and your moods and your all those things. And so I felt like, okay, once I heal my gut, then my ability to deal with everything was, my bounce back came back. And so that's the ascension. I feel like I was like, oh good, I'm on my way up again, and here we go, what's next? So now lots of good things are coming in the chat, so I don't want to miss these. So Tegan said, now go back to the mushrooms. So Cherie mentioned about if anyone knows about growing mushrooms and mushroom spores. So if anyone's watching the replay and wants to add anything about mushrooms, Carol said, have you taken mushroom tinctures as the antibiotic? Okay, so when you find out who can run workshops on that, we'd love to know. That'd be awesome. And then Tegan said that she's reading the Weed Foragers Handbook, and I have seen that floating around from time to time, Tegan, how everyone raves about that book. Yes, there it is. So maybe I need to get my hands on it, because I do a lot of YouTube, but nothing like a good handbook to actually show you what you should be looking out for. Like, yeah, tell us more.
I also just like the handbook because if internet does go down, I've got that there with me out in the wild. And I've also been, because it's a good, useful little book, but I feel like it's a starter guide. So I've actually been compiling more photos off the internet and then downloading all their properties. So the medicinal properties, what they're utilized for, how to prepare, and then creating a little, I think I'll laminate them, like a little laminated guide.
Fantastic. That is awesome. So what I've started, and it's all kind of in the back end process at the moment, is on my website, myselfreliance.com.au, I've got sections for health and for survival and for community where all these good files can go that we've talked about. So yeah, so the recipes and the all those great links, we can have a section where you can go find all this really great information. So really fantastic conversation, guys, and everything that you've added to tonight, it's been really valuable, don't you feel? So yeah, thank you. You all are, everyone is a wealth of information, and this is what these conversations are all about. The more we share, the more we grow. So we will probably wrap it up tonight. We if we have you know, more than a dozen, then it's kind of worth jumping into breakout rooms. But I feel like tonight's conversation's been absolutely phenomenal, and so I hope anyone who's watching the replay, yeah, do like and share it and comment on it. And so we'll be here again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Please invite your friends to jump on, because it's really all about community, and that more that we can learn. And often I go through a bit of a topic first, and then we kind of jump into our breakout rooms. So does anyone have any requests for any topics that you would like covered next week or in the coming weeks? So some of the, while you're thinking about that, headings, the emergency plans or food storage or more like we've really, I love what we've talked about tonight, all the edible things that are good for health. Tegan, do you have a suggestion?
I'm curious about everyone's experience in power supplies. So do people use generators? Is solar a good thing? Some little tips around solar rechargeable things. Like I've just discovered these crank radios, which I'm sure you all have, but I've just discovered them and I think they're clever. So more things like that would be great.
Yeah, solar's a big conversation and it's a bit of a mystery for a lot of people. So finding someone who's a little bit more expert in that area to come on and share with us. So we'll put out the call and we'll see who can lead us in that conversation. I also have, my uncle is very well versed in common law information. So, you know, how to talk your way out of a pickle, I guess. It's maybe a nice way of saying it. And, you know, knowing your rights and knowing how, as a nation, we kind of get back to having sovereignty. And so I've invited him to lead us in a conversation about that. So, so is that an area of interest of everyone, that common law conversation? Yeah.
Yes.
And he is such a beautiful soul who's really in touch with, you know, heart space and sovereignty and health and healing as well. So he's just a beautiful energy as well. So you'll love hearing from him. So I'm going to have him on next Tuesday night. So yeah, you'll love that one. Any other thoughts or ideas? Danielle says that you work with animals and dogs, having supplies for our animals. You mean like in your food storage? Yeah. Chickens, thinking about setting up your own chickens, hard to find organic feed, and also feed that you can store long term. So what I love about animals in our plan is like around permaculture, that we have useful animals that we support and they support us back. And, you know, what you can grow that can feed your animals. And so that is a really good topic. So it's if you'd like to know more about permaculture, I do have a permaculture course that's on the 4th and the 5th of February. So it's only coming up very, very soon. And Betty and Ada are joining me on that. It is in Lower Mangrove, so you would need to travel to New South Wales if you're not already in New South Wales to come to that. It's a camping weekend, so it's, you know, supply your own food and water and tent and so forth. But, you know, Andrew, if you want to come to that and you don't have a tent, I can help you out with a tent. So get in touch with me about that. Yeah, you would love it, Danielle. The permaculture, I think, is the way to go when you are looking for off-grid solutions. And you can do that in your own backyard, and, you know, ideally, you know, space allows for more permaculture animals, really, because the plants you can do in a very small space. But so that's our vision for this year, is to move our family out onto a off-gridding rural property, using all the permaculture processes. And if I have it my way, I'll be taking a whole swag of community people to, you know, to be on the land with me. So that's kind of my vision for this year. So stay tuned for that. This is, you know, we're doing the research now to get into that position, and then we'll do lots of more conversations around that as well. So, but if anyone wants to join us who on our permaculture course, I'll put another link into that, and it's a really, because it's a camping weekend, it's a really good value for money. So I know you can do permaculture courses which run like a lot more expensive than this one, but over these 2 days you get lots of jam-packed value in there. So So anyone want to say anything to wrap up tonight? No one's jumping off mute.
Yes, let's just say thank you for tonight.
Wonderful. Well, we really appreciate you being on and sharing. I'll save all this great information in the chat, and yeah, look forward to seeing you all on next Tuesday at 8 p.m.